Now, the next question, question 36, is from Deputy Ó Snodaigh.
This is a simple question, a follow-up to an earlier question to some degree, but it's to try and nail down what actions you or the military authorities or your department have taken to track down at least 4 health and safety reports of Air Corps installations which are carried out in the 1990s which have vanished. Or are we to depend on the Examiner newspaper's Joe Logue's investigative journalistic skills to unearth more information, as has been the case to date?
Minister.
As I have previously indicated to the Deputy, I was advised by the military authorities that there was a report on measuring carbon monoxide fumes from aircraft compiled by Forbairt in 1995. A further report on monitoring air contaminants in workshops in 1997 was also compiled by Forbairt. Unfortunately, following the extensive search and the military authorities having consulted with Enterprise Ireland, which superseded Forbairt, and having also conducted a broad range of searches within the department, it has not been possible to locate these reports. I understand that Enterprise Ireland advised the military authorities that records were not kept beyond 10 years and that records have been disposed of in 2007. The military authorities have indicated that the Defence Forces have neither a hard copy nor an electronic copy of the Forbairt reports. The military authorities have indicated that there are a range of potential causes for the loss of these reports, such as the changeover of electronic recording systems in 2004, or that the reports were misplaced over time. However, this is purely speculative. This matter was raised with me in recent correspondence where certain allegations were made that documents had been destroyed. The correspondence in question was also addressed to the Chief of Staff and to the Deputy that I have requested a report from the Chief of Staff on the actions taken on foot of the accusations. When the report is to hand, I will consider that further and look at whatever steps may be required.
If I can be helpful, I'll just ask, and some of them you've answered, you've asked the military authorities in relation to the reports. I don't know how in-depth that query is, but did they ask the key personnel who were involved in commissioning these reports whether they recalled commissioning the reports? Had they sight of them? Had they ever possession of them? Did they maybe put them into the National Archive? As you said, all the files in relation to Jadaville are at the moment. You said your department contacted Enterprise Ireland directly. Maybe I can be of some assistance. One of the reports was Dr. Joe Kearney, who did that report in 1997 on monitoring air contaminants in the workshop. He did that on behalf of Forbairt, who carried it out on behalf of Lieutenant Colin Roach of the engineering wing of the Air Corps Baldonnel, and that was given to the Air Corps on the 9th of the 1st, 1997. Did they contact Conor Tonra, who was an environmental consultant who carried out the ambient air monitoring for health and safety at work at the engineering cleaning area, the welding shop and the paint shop? That report was carried out in 1995. As the date on it is the 2nd of August 1995, and it was carried out on behalf of Sound Research Labs Limited, the Noise and Vibration Section, Environmental Engineering Limited, which had an address both in Cork and Dublin, and also on behalf of Forbairt. But it was carried out on behalf of Captain John Maloney. As far as I know, both the military personnel indicated there and both the consultants who carried out these reports are still with us today, and some are still operating. So has there been any contact made with them to find out if they have their own copies, or those organisations have copies that might be useful to you? Because there's only 2 of the 4 that we know have carried out have come to light so far, and maybe the Minister, as I said earlier, might ask the whistleblowers he met recently, they may give him a copy of 2 of at least the reports. Minister.
Deputy, as I have stated, that I have written to the Chief of Staff and asked him to carry out an investigate regarding the reports that were alleged to have been carried out by Forbairt. I am waiting his reply, but I know that in a previous PQ or question earlier today that you stated that you have a copy of some of the reports. And let me state, Deputy, I haven't got a copy of those reports, but I'd very much appreciate a copy of those reports. If we are to progress the health and safety issues in the Air Corps, or if we are all concerned in this House about the health and safety and well-being of the men and women of the Air Corps, I think it's in all of our interests that you will give me a copy of those reports. As you are aware, there are litigation issues continuing on at this moment in time, and I'm limited into what I can state. But let me state that I think it would be in all our interests, if you have a copy of the report, that I would get a copy of it and to make sure that health and well-being of our members of the Air Corps is satisfactory.
I personally would have no problem, but similar to you, if somebody gives me something as a whistleblower, I am not at liberty to just hand them over. I will contact them and ask if they wish me to pass it on to you. But you had sight of these, I'm told, by the same whistleblowers when they met you. I don't know whether you asked them at that stage for a copy of them. Maybe you can do so if you contact them. There are other reports from 2014 which you might be interested in that you should also ask the military authority, because I can guarantee you those reports have not been shredded, as was the intention with the two reports I have cited earlier. So, Minister, I would be happy to comply if the whistleblowers allow me, because there is legislation there that prevents me from disclosing, other than the fact that I have them, and I'd love to share them with you to be helpful, and I've encouraged them to be as helpful as possible. But also the question was, the named people that I mentioned earlier, they're still working, they're still living, they should be contacted to see whether they have copies, because these are only 2 of at least 4 that we know were carried out in the 1990s.
Thank you, Ascertain. Minister, we have 4 reports from different reporting periods, and I fully accept that you didn't shred those reports, you didn't mislay those reports, but you were the individual tasked with explaining what may have happened to those reports. A suggestion that all 4 may have been lost in translation over to the electronic system, or that over time they just coincidentally disappeared. You can understand why we're finding it difficult to believe that, and I think the public will find it difficult to believe that. In the absence of a realistic and reasonable explanation, people will draw their own conclusions. And you've mentioned the litigation ongoing. And one has to ask the question, is there a sinister motive as to why these reports are not available where they should be? Is there some reason or some motivation why somebody, some person, some group may have wanted to destroy these reports? These are the questions being asked. So we have access, we believe, to maybe 2 of those reports. There may be more. Getting copies now, that's not the problem. The issue here is that potentially we have 4 reports that could bolster the cases being taken against the state. 4 reports that potentially were purposely destroyed. We don't know who did it, we don't know why they did it, but the public are drawing their own conclusions. And ultimately, Minister, you are the person responsible.
Thank you. Minister, to conclude.
The book will always stop at the Minister's desk, but I'm glad that the Deputy Opposite has said that I didn't destroy the reports. Absolutely, I didn't destroy the reports. I haven't seen any of these reports, and I've stated to both deputies that I have written to the Chief of Staff, who has primary responsibility for the Defence Forces, and these reports were carried out under the auspice of the Defence Forces and within the Air Corps. I've asked when these reports are carried out, what detail they have of the reports, who carried out the reports. The Deputy informed me of a number of names today. I will bring that information to the Chief of Staff and will write to him either this evening or tomorrow, containing the names of the people that you have passed on to me today. I'm not sure if this is sinister or whatever, Deputy, I cannot comment on that, but I have asked the Chief to look into this, to see where these reports are, to investigate this thoroughly, to what reports. But let me state again that if people have reports, and we're all interested and worried and concerned about the health and well-being of members of the Air Corps, and there are people that have reports out there, I'd ask, as Minister for Defence, to have a copy of these reports that I can then look at when I'm making a decision on the independent reviewers and on the further actions that I have to take. That these reports will be very handy for the decision I have to take.